Okay, so I'm just going to ask you a couple questions just about everything there, and just answer how you feel comfortable.
Okay.
Okay. So to start, would you mind telling me a little bit about yourself and your place of birth?
Sure. My name is Rolana Sblano. I moved to the United States about 20 years ago.
Okay.
From Syria. I was born and raised in Syria. We've been here for 20 years. It's pretty much our home country now.
Sure.
We used to travel every single year back home in the summer, spend some time with family and friends. It has been 2 years since the war started in Syria. We couldn't really go back.
So that's been troubling to not be able to see your family and friends.
Absolutely. I mean, we're trying to get as much people out, but I mean, it's.
So you are though having interactions with your family and friends in Syria, and trying to get them out of the country.
We tried because a lot of people already left Syria and they're stuck now either in Cyprus, Egypt, or any country around Syria, which is they thought they're gonna go for like a couple months and come back, but they lost pretty much everything.
Sure.
Now I'm from Damascus, which is the capital of Syria, which is Damascus is still safe for if you compare it to other regions.
Some
because I mean this is where the Assad regime just like base, and so it's still compared to other cities, and it's still safer than the others.
Yes,
so we have so many family back there, and still they're like going to their work every day in colleges and schools. But it's getting there, so you don't know any minute something can really happen.
And I'm sure, the emotion
is
still there. They obviously know the situation, and it's reflected probably in the emotions of the people.
Oh, absolutely.
Correct?
Especially now with the opposition. Now they have like missiles and armies, and it's just it's very complicated. Very complicated.
It is a very complicated situation. I completely agree. Do you remember how life was in Syria, basically before the civil war, before the tensions between the government and the people?
Absolutely.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah, I used to take I have two daughters,
sure.
Sarah and Sandy, and we used to go travel every single year back home. Now, I'm not sure if the American people know exactly what Syria was before the war started, because from the picture we see, sometimes we'll be like shocked to see just one image, and it's not really reflecting the true people back there. So this is, Syria used to be like beautiful. We had everything, and Damascus used to be one of the safest city in the world.
Yeah, a beautiful city too. It's called
it's
the Pearl,
beautiful.
Pearl of the East, right?
You have the old and the new. The old, you can walk into the old Damascus, which is about 3,000 years old, and there's some areas kept as is, where there's cafes and stuff, but you still feel like the old cities, and it's just like beautiful. And then you just go 10 minutes and you'll see like malls and cafes, and it's just like Europe kind of
because
style.
It's a very modernized city, correct?
It is kind of, yes. And this is something that most of people here don't know. They only feel like maybe it's more like the villages and
But do you believe in the current political and economic policies that are put into place by the government? Do you know anything about that kind of stuff?
I do kind of, but I think it's so complicated because there's two point of view. Our point of view, and then like the United States point of view. Or let's talk about people.
Sure.
Because for us, we know that. Like for us, most of the Syrian people, let's say most of the Syrian people, they do know that there's like two parties now, the opposition and the government. Whether we're with or we are against, we don't know who's the opposition are.
Okay.
We don't know who's behind the opposition, so that's why we don't have a big trust in them. And we know that the regime is dictator and all of this stuff, but it's still, when we were under the regime, it was safer. I'm not saying that people were happy and there's like no problems. There was, but at least we were safe. But now this is gone pretty much. Like you don't know what's going to happen anywhere. There's a lot of issues because of Syria, it's not like Iraq or any other country, or Libya or Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
Syria has a lot of allies, which is Russia,
I understand that, yeah.
China, and Iran. And they were not gonna let go of Syria, because it's a key for them to stabilize the Middle East.
And they're supporters of the government, those countries, correct?
Exactly. So really there's a lot of issues, as we said earlier. It's so complicated. Unless you can see it like from all the point of view, you're not gonna get the real idea. Because, I mean, Russia, I don't know if you know that Russia interested in Syria.
I do, yes.
Yes, they have their base in Tartus, pretty much. They have contract with the government, let's say, it's like about $50 billion, about like just, military and kind of like, yes. And now the regime is Alawi. Pretty much, yes, and it's part of Islamic kind of the religion, but it's more likely to be similar to Iranian, the Shia. That's why Iran did not want the government to step down, because they think the Sunni, if they took over, it will be a harm for them later on.
Yes.
Because their majority of Muslims in Iran is Shia.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why, that's another reason Iran will just, and pretty much for Hezbollah also, because it's the way for them to get all the weapons and everything to Hezbollah, and from Hezbollah to them, because Israel is a big threat to Iran, and Iran is a big threat to Israel. So it's so complicated. It's just like, it's not because of Syria itself, but because all of the country neighboring Syria.
Yeah, okay. So would you say that the general, conciseness of the people is that they don't really know who to trust?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
A lot of people don't trust the government. A lot of people don't trust the opposition, unless there's like, let's say something happened in the family, like someone killed, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Then
Yes,
this way it's going to be, it will become like personal thing. So if, let's say, the government killed not you, but your brother, you're going to hate the government.
Of course.
Or if, like, the opposition killed some of my family, I'm going to be, So this is different, but from the majority point of view, we don't trust either party, because we feel like, okay, it's bigger game than all of us. And really nobody cares about the Syrian people, the innocent one, because those are the people who suffer the most.
So speaking basically about, if one of your family members or other people were harmed, do you actually know anyone currently involved in the war effort?
Well, actually, we did lose, we lost a couple of people.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I know, it was very tragic. It was really, really, yeah, one of them is a neighbor, one of them is part of the family, actually.
Okay.
But also, there's a lot of people that lost their houses, and we know those people. Some people just, like, as I said, they went temporary and now they cannot go back. Mm-hmm. So we know a lot of people that suffered. A lot of people suffered.
And that hits closer to home then, I guess, if you've been directly affected by the war.
Absolutely.
Of course. Do you agree or disagree with the way the U.S. has handled the situation?
We're disappointed a little bit, because we felt like from the humanitarian aid it should be more involved.
I agree.
Not necessarily military action, but like they could have done something different and reacted faster, and not like waited for 3 years now. And really, we're disappointed in everybody pretty much, because it has been 3 years, 200,000 people has been killed. 4 million people fled out of the country, and they don't know if they're going to come back or not. So we're talking big numbers.
It's huge. It's a crisis.
This is really bad.
I agree.
So it was kind of disappointment.
I definitely agree. Yeah. In your opinion, the war is becoming more volatile, though. More people are dying as the months go on. more damage is happening and the situation isn't getting any better. In my
Absolutely
opinion,
not.
I don't know about in your opinion.
Absolutely not.
I think it's
not
just
getting,
worsening.
It's getting worse by day, every day.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely agree. And the peace talks that happened recently haven't really resolved anything, huh?
Absolutely not.
What came out of that, really?
Absolutely not.
But going back to who the people really side with, do you believe that the government cares about its civilians and their welfare in Syria, or
Not really.
not really? Not really. I definitely, in my opinion anyway, I feel like it is a corrupt institution, kind of. Although you can't really side truly with either party because each one has its flaws. I do find that the government has let down its people. So I wanted to get your stance on that.
It's just like, as we said, it's very complicated. I don't think the government here can get involved in another war after what happened in Iraq.
Sure.
So this is one thing. But the other thing, as we look at the U.S. as the, policeman of the world.
Power, sure.
Yes. There is a big crisis back home. Something has to be done. We cannot just, watch people suffering like this every day.
I completely agree.
Yeah. So it was just kind of like a disappointment because we felt like someone has to step out and say something, do something, not just like, it's just sad.
Yeah. So on that note, do you think that there needs to be any sort of military intervention in Syria, or
I think, but not
even to some degree?
Yeah, for us, actually, for me personally, I'm so afraid that if there's any kind of military action, it will lead to more complicated situation in Syria. Just by watching what happened in Iraq, we're like, no.
Yeah, of course. Of course, there were definitely some problems.
Definitely do not want to be like that. So, but either or, we don't know really what's going to be best for us.
Sure.
But I know there's a lot of other ways, like if probably can be under the United Nations, just like a quick resolution, that would be best option to save some people's lives.
Countries in Africa have had success under the United Nations, so some have, some haven't.
Exactly.
You don't really know what's going to help, honestly, but you got to try, right? Yeah. So, do you believe that Bashar al-Assad is condemned or glorified by most Syrians? Is there a mixed 50-50, or is it?
In the past, 6-7 months, a lot of people, after they say after they watch the opposition and they're collapsing and really not doing anything good for the country, and then now having those extremists coming through, I don't know where they're coming from and who's behind them, people start going back and say, you know what, he was a dictator, but we were fine. At least there was no killing. At least we were safe. At least the country was going in a better position, way better than now. Now, it just pretty much everything collapsed. Everything. So I would say not 50-50 because most of the people know that he is a dictator and they want him out, but we don't have someone that can replace him. So that's why they're saying, you know what, if he's going to stay, that's fine. Just stop the killing.
Okay. So
did you get what
I understood that. So
okay.
Basically, you're just, honestly, people don't even really get into the specifics of it, but they want a more stable, more reliable form of government instead of this dictator who's committed these atrocities.
Because people back there now, they're sick of this war. It's just they want to go back to their work. They want to send their kids to school without the fear of, if you walk out of your home, you're not coming back. This is something they're dealing with every single day. So really for them now, it's just like a matter of just go back and be safe, and then whatever is going to happen, it's...
Sure. So, but do you have any personal, opinions you'd like to add on to what you just told me about, or personal experiences that you'd like to share?
I really like, after what happened in Syria, we have a lot of friends that are American, and they were just amazing, amazing. Just, I mean, for them to be supporting and just calling us every time to check on us and our family and try to help out. I mean, it was really amazing. And I just want to say something, as I told you at first. Education give you a lot of open mind about what's going on, the real thing. I mean, you cannot just watch the news and take it 100% that it's true.
Of course.
There's a lot of issue, there's a lot of things, and if we don't really like, knowledge is the key to understand everything going on. So, and it's really, I mean, I was surprised to see a lot of people here that they really care, and even though, I mean, they had nothing to do with the country, but they do care. And this is something I try to explain to my own people too, because people back home too, they have the same image as here. They think like United States, they're gonna just, they're after their oil, or they're like what happened in Iraq, and they really don't care about people. They just care about what's the interest in that region. And so that's why I always tell them, just separate the politics from the real people. I mean, real people do not think the same way as, you know, the government sometimes. So it's just like, you know, knowledge, basic knowledge, and just ask and just take an opinion and see who are these people. I mean, not just judging those people and feel like they are our enemies. But I mean, it takes time to see the truth.